Welcome to Learning Life Content. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Your support helps us grow and motivates us to bring you more fascinating and enriching stories. It was as if someone had erased them from the map. But you can't erase whispers. The whispers about Rudrakunda have survived for over a century, passed down in hushed tones in neighbouring communities. They spoke of a place cursed by the earth it was built on. A place where the sky turned sickly yellow and the air grew heavy with a scent like burnt sugar and decay. They said the people of Rudrakunda didn't die. They were taken. This is the story of our attempt to find out what took them. A story that in the end seems to have taken us as well. What you're about to hear is a reconstruction, pieced together from recovered fragments and our research notes. It's an incomplete puzzle, and the missing pieces are the most terrifying part. The hum grows louder, then cuts to black. Our journey started with a single, cryptic entry in a forgotten colonial ledger from 1898. It mentioned a closure order for a village named Rudrakunda, citing an unspecified outbreak. But there were no follow-up reports, no death tolls, no records of relocation. The village, its people, its very name, they were simply gone. The story of Rudrakunda isn't just about a village that disappeared. It's about how a place and its people can be swallowed whole by something so horrifying that history itself decides to forget. Sometimes the questions are more important than the answers, especially when the answers are too horrifying to face. We set out to investigate a ghost story, a local legend about a place that simply ceased to exist. There were only a few of us, a sound guy, a cameraman and me. We had our equipment, our research and a healthy dose of skepticism. But what we found in the remote hills of what was once British India wasn't just a story. It was a void, an absence, a silence that screamed louder than any ghost.
This is the only footage we have left from the final hours. It's raw, it's terrifying, it's why we're telling this story.
The audio begins with a low hum, punctuated by the crackle of old vinyl. A faint, distorted whisper twists through the noise, almost impossible to make out. The screen stays dark, then flickers, a glimpse of a bare tree against a grey sky, shaky footage, harsh breathing, and the crunch of dry leaves. Rudrakunda was not just forgotten, it was erased. A cold wind blows across the plateau. The story grabs you here. The land is dead, and so is its memory. No ruins, no pottery shards, no foundations. It's as if the village was scooped out of the earth, leaving a wound that refuses to heal. The silence at the site is heavy, oppressive, a silence that feels ancient and angry. It's one thing for a village to be abandoned, it's another for the land itself to die, for history to deny its existence. Using old maps, we triangulated the coordinates. Where Rudrakunda should have been is now a barren rocky plateau, unnaturally flat, scarred by deep fissures. Local forestry officials call it the scab. Nothing grows there. The soil is sterile and no one can explain why. We spoke to Dr. Aris Thorne, a cartographic historian. He called it a cartographic anomaly. An entire village falling off the map was unprecedented. Then after 1897, the dot is gone. The name vanishes from all later maps. The 1901 census doesn't mention it, not even as deserted. Maps from 1895, 1896 and early 1897 all show Rudrakunda, a small agricultural community known for terracotta pottery, 214 people. To understand Rudrakunda's mystery, you have to see how thoroughly it was erased. We started in the National Archives, digging through British Raj records. This wasn't just folklore, it was a warning. Some places are meant to be forgotten. The silent feast was the last night anyone saw them. All 214 villagers gathered in silence as the sun went down, not eating, not speaking, just waiting. The fear in neighbouring villages was real. They believed whatever woke up in Rudrakunda still sleeps beneath that barren land. On certain nights, when the moon is new, you can hear a faint hum from the plateau, the sound of 214 voices whispering from beneath the earth. They call it the hungry silence. In the weeks before the village vanished, travellers reported strange things. The people no longer cast shadows. Their voices became hollow. They stood motionless in the fields, listening to something only they could hear. My grandmother told me the story. The people of Rudrakunda found something deep in the earth, a voice that promised them prosperity. They made offerings, whispers, memories, shadows. Eventually, an old shopkeeper named Ilara agreed to speak, but only away from the village and not on camera. At first, we got blank stares. The name Rudrakunda was a dead end. A taboo, a name you didn't speak after dark. Official history may have forgotten Rudrakunda, but the locals hadn't. They just didn't like to talk about it. We travelled to Dehri, a nearby town, and tried to ask about the lost village. The cover-up was real. But what were they hiding? The erasure wasn't a clerical error, it was a deliberate high-level cover-up. Finch's final letter was nearly incoherent. He wrote of men refusing to go near the site, of whispers on the wind, of silence spreading. A week later, Finch was reported dead, officially cholera, but a footnote in a medical log listed self-inflicted auditory trauma. He had clawed out his own eardrums. He wrote, "It is not a quarantine, but a damnatio memoria, a damnation of memory. We are commanded to forget, but God help me, I cannot. I see their faces in my sleep, they have no eyes." Finch's letters grew frantic. The order to erase Rudrakunda came from higher up with a chilling addendum. Never speak of it again, under penalty of treason. I dug deeper. Personal letters, private journals of British officials. That's when things got strange. I found letters from Lieutenant Thomas Finch, October 1897. His official reports were dry, but his letters home spoke of dread. He wrote, "The natives are maddened with fear. They claim the village has been unmade." Finch described the place as hollowed out by a sound none of us could hear. Armed with these legends, we returned to Dr. Thorne. He'd been sceptical, but the folklore unsettled him. We had found our answer. But the discovery was just the beginning of our own story. The diary ends there, a suicide note for an entire village, a willing sacrifice to something unknown. The final entry is a scrawl. It asks for our reflections. The water no longer shows our faces. The sun no longer marks our passing. It asks for our bodies next. We will be unwritten. We will be the silence. Tonight we give it the final gift. We give it ourselves. We are becoming pure. The voice will make us one with the land. We will be eternal. The voice then asked for their pain, then their memories of the outside world, first their songs, then their laughter. The village fell silent, offering its joy to the earth. He writes about the gift from below. A low hum from the earth, a voice only the villagers could hear. It promised prosperity, but wanted things in return. Bhaskar's early entries are normal: crop yields, disputes, family. Then the tone shifts. The final entries from summer 1897 were our only glimpse from inside the village. It was the diary of Bhaskar, the headman of Rudrakunda. It was a metal box, inside a leather-bound journal, miraculously preserved. We hired a local team with ground-penetrating radar. For 2 days, nothing but sterile soil. On the third day, near the center, the radar picked up a small, dense object, 2 feet down. Finch's letters pushed us to do what we'd feared, an archaeological survey of the site. We were isolated, with a haunted diary, glitching footage, and disappearing allies. Paranoia set in. We felt like the people of Rudrakunda, shedding our connections to the outside world. Was the silence reaching out to us? We packed our gear in a panic. The investigation was over. Our only goal was to get out and share what we could before it too was unwritten. Then Dr. Thorne called, furious. He claimed he'd never heard of Rudrakunda, never spoken to us, never seen Finch's letters. He threatened legal action if we used his name. Our key expert had been erased from our story. After we found the diary, things started to unravel. Our sound engineer, Ben, found a low rhythmic hum under Ilara's interview, just like Bhaskar described. It wasn't there before. The next day, our cameraman, Liam, reviewed footage of me reading the diary. On playback, the diary's pages were blank. The physical diary still had writing, but the camera refused to see it. Reality was editing itself around us. We were losing everything. Proof recording, sanity. The story was erasing itself, and it felt like it was erasing us too. We had one last idea, a live broadcast. Maybe we could tell the story to a live audience before it was gone for good. The worst was the diary. In a locked case, it was now completely blank. Every word Bhaskar wrote had vanished, leaving only faint indentations. We tried to back everything up, but as Liam started the transfer, the files began deleting themselves. We watched helplessly as our evidence vanished. The entity from Rudrakunda wasn't just local. It was an information-devouring virus, and we had carried it out with us. The drive back was tense and silent. Every time we checked the equipment, more was gone. Interviews turned to static audio, replaced by silence, video corrupted. We found a small radio station willing to give us a late-night slot. In a soundproofed room, I sat at the microphone, ready to recount everything. The plan: tell the story in one uninterrupted broadcast. The story would exist, if only for a moment. I started talking about the missing village, the cover-up, the diary, but as I tried to read Bhaskar's words, my throat went dry. The letters on my notes twisted into nonsense. Ben pointed at the monitors. The audio was dead air. No sound was leaving the room. Liam's web stream glitched, my face pixelating, the connection dropping. Viewers reported a low hum through the static. The lights flickered. A deep vibration shook the studio, the same hum from the legends. My last memory, a crack spreading up the microphone, Ben shouting, the hum overwhelming everything. The feed cut out. The broadcast was over, and so were we. And if you listen closely, beneath the chorus of the forgotten, you can just make out 3 new whispers, faint and terrified, recently joined. The recording ends abruptly, but the silence it leaves behind is heavy, and it is listening. But one file survived, a 30-second audio clip from the radio station's damaged servers. Audio text can't explain it. It contains frequencies above and below human hearing. When filtered, you hear hundreds of voices whispering in perfect unison. Not words, just a single, sustained, toneless note. A hungry, empty sound. The sound of a silence given a voice. This reconstruction comes from fragmented emails, texts, and corrupted data recovered from the crew's cloud accounts. The radio station has no record of us. The motel has no record. Dr. Thorne died suddenly 2 weeks after our disappearance. Ilara vanished. The authorities found our vehicle abandoned, equipment wiped clean. The diary and metal box gone. The official verdict: disappearance by misadventure. Thank you for watching Learning Life content. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Your support helps us grow and motivates us to bring you more fascinating and enriching stories.